I've written a letter to Daddy. His address is a hospital bed. I've written a letter to Daddy. I hope he winds up dead. Oh, Meghan, my dear. What tidings you bring for Christmas time? Well, new revelations have emerged today about the very moment that the letter was opened by Thomas Markle Sr. Indeed, new information was revealed today by Caroline Graham. Was that her name? I've got CG here. I think it was Caroline, the journalist that's cozied up with Mr. Markle, and they have this remarkable friendship going on, even more remarkable than his friendship with Carl Larson. Isn't it curious? Now, I'm just going to give a brief bit of backstory here for those of you who aren't in the know, but most of you will be by now, so feel free to skip ahead a couple of minutes. But of course, Meghan insisted that she sent an email to Daddy, and she says that she personally called several hospitals. She was trying desperately to reach Daddy, and of course, eventually it did reach his hands, so it should, by all means, remain private. But once it was in his clutches, Meghan wanted to shape the story and control the narrative, so via her mouthpiece, was it Mainsy Maguire? Some of her fiddlers, anyway, spoke up at her displeasure of the interference of Caroline Graham and her presence. A spokesperson for Meghan said, "Given that a Daily Mail reporter has remained at Meghan's father's bedside throughout, broadcasting each interaction and breaching clear ethical boundaries, it has been exceedingly difficult for the Duchess to contact her father privately, despite her best efforts over the past several days. With the support of reliable and trusted contacts, her correspondence is now safely in his hands." But a spokesman from DMG, who owned the Mail on Sunday, rejected and rebuffed Meghan's claims, saying that our journalist, Caroline Graham, has had a close relationship with Mr. Markle since 2018. He contacted Miss Graham when he was taken ill and asked her to travel to the Philippines to be with him. Nothing has been published without his specific consent and that of his son. Well, Caroline Graham has confirmed to Meghan's representative that Mr. Markle does not have an active email address, but that his phone number, which the Duchess has previously used for him, remains unchanged. Caroline also made it clear that if she was able to do anything to facilitate contact between Mr. Markle and his daughter to have a conversation, then she would be more than happy to do so. That remains the case. And they made it very clear that any suggestion that Mr. Markle has been puppeteered into various situations is entirely false and strongly denied. And then today came the revelations of the moment of the letter opening and exactly what transpired in that room where Caroline Graham was with Mr. Markle when it happened. She says that she became friends with Thomas Markle many years ago now, and that they ended up speaking every day, and they have for a very long time. She says that that email address that Meghan was trying to make contact through is now defunct because he forgot his password a long time ago. He's not into technology and emails and all that jazz, which is a bit of a ball ache for all of us, isn't it, mind? All these passwords and passcodes and verifications. It's really quite a nuisance. Well, Mr. Markle was minding his own business in hospital in the Philippines when the president of the hospital emerged, brandishing consent forms and a waiver for a visit from a representative from the US Embassy. A visit for consular assistance at the request of the US Embassy. Isn't that something? So she's getting embassies involved as if she is Queen of Sheba. She is Queen of Shit. And not long after that, in the middle of a physiotherapy session, where Caroline Graham was also in attendance, she can't have much going on in her life, can she? But then she is a very good chum of Mr. Markle. In the middle of a physiotherapy session, the president of the hospital came in again, and Thomas was asked to sign another legal document confirming that he was about to receive a letter from his daughter, and to confirm that the letter was sealed and personally handed to him. And not only that, the lawyer insisted that the handover of the letter was recorded on film to get the evidence to send it on to Meghan. Mr. Markle did not read the letter immediately. He left it for 4 hours. Apparently he was very nervous of its content. I wonder why. Let's remember that he did not reveal everything that was in the original letter to Daddy. He kept some back for himself. I've always found it very interesting. He says that it hurt too much. I think he was hiding something that Meghan put in the letter that he didn't want the world to know and that would show him in a bad light. And if I'm wrong, show us the rest of the letter. But regardless, he left it for 4 hours and then he read the letter. He reread the letter over and over. Caroline says she was sitting there, but he shared nothing with her. He shared nothing with Caroline Graham. And Mr. Markle told Caroline Graham not to tell anybody else that he had received the letter. So he wanted to keep it private. I'll be very interested to see if it remains private over the next few months or years or even decades. That was Meghan's intention. Private. She wants to keep it private. She claims. He claims that that's what he wants as well. So time will reveal, won't it? Either way, time will reveal. Hours later, though, Caroline Graham was relaxing in her hotel room and her phone began blowing up with messages and all kinds of texts because, of course, the Sussexes had released the information of the delivery themselves, shaping the narrative, controlling the story. They were onto it. And they were very quick to accuse Caroline Graham of ethical boundaries being crossed, as we discussed. And this has been hotly denied by Caroline Graham. Now, I have compassion, great compassion for Thomas Markle, especially in his situation. I wish him well. He's watched the show along with his son, and they've sent good tidings to me in the past. But he does have a vulnerability in his nature that people can take advantage of. But I have also seen spite and malice from him, as well as decisions that are beyond unwise into downright stupid. Some, in fact many, think that that spite and malice towards Meghan and Harry is deserved. That's their opinion. I say it's inexcusable to be in cahoots with the kind of characters we see all of the Markle family conferring with, jiving with, who not only critique Thomas's own flesh and blood, not only a critique, not even a harsh critique, but characters who cruelly denigrate his daughter over and over again, year after year, cruelly, personally, venomously getting in there. That is not on. He wouldn't see my kids ever again if he was their granddad. Do you understand? He would never see them again. That privilege would be taken. That would be forfeited from him. I don't care if that's not your view. That's my view. That doesn't mean that I don't have compassion for both sides of this particular lollipop. And you might ask, so why am I more vocal about Meghan and Harry's disparagements of the royal family? Well, that is because exactly that. They are the royal family, my dear. It involves representatives of my country, this kingdom, being disparaged, my head of state. Do you understand? That is a serious quiz. Her interpersonal, familial feuds are more of her own affair. And none of you might think that you know what goes on. I might think that I know a little bit of what goes on within the dynamics of their relationship. Meghan is the one who spent her childhood growing up with Mr. Markle and knowing the ins and outs of that family. And she's not the only one in that family who doesn't get on with their modus operandi. Ask Samantha's own daughter. So all I'd suggest to those of you who still hold Meghan under fire this week and don't approve of her ways of going about contacting her father, whether it was too early, too late, too managerial and micromanaged, all I'd suggest is that if you don't like the method, at least consider the fact that the silence that you've been complaining about for so long is broken. The silence is broken, and she has made an effort to get in contact. But was this for her father? Or was it for her image and to try and protect her reputation and damage control? Now that is the quiz. There's no doubt that her histrionic bent will be thriving on it though, won't it? She loves drama, can't live without the drama, so she will be enjoying and relishing all of this snot and drama. Don't give us those crocodile tears, Meghan darling, or we will snap. Their Majesties shared an image of this year's Christmas card. Did you see it? Going out to all of their friends and loved ones. The photograph was captured in April during the state visit to Italy, and it said, wishing you a very happy Christmas and New Year. So I noticed that they do this every year. They wish a happy Christmas. Why is that controversial? Well, the late Queen Elizabeth and Philip used to simply send best wishes for Christmas and the New Year. There was not often much mention of having a happy Christmas, but that is the preference of royalty. Happy, 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 happy Christmas, and the preference of many from society and throughout the aristocracy. Well, I don't approve. I don't approve, and I don't care how common it makes me. If it makes me common as muck, in my book, it's Merry Christmas. Yeah, it should always be that fabulous, wonderful word that's barely used most of the time, except at Christmas. Merry Christmas, I like to wish, and a happy New Year, or a prosperous New Year. That's my preference. So before you accuse me of being bourgeois or non-you, I don't care if it is. I truly don't care. Merry Christmas first appeared in a written record from the 1500s, 1534. It was a letter from a bishop to a royal minister by the name of Thomas Cromwell, and it was used and popularised, I suppose you could say, in A Christmas Carol by Dickens. Well, I think Scrooge uses Happy Christmas towards the beginning of the novel, but then at the end, when he's exuberant, it becomes Merry Christmas, and it came to have a sort of connotation of rowdiness, being merry, meaning also imbibed and drunk, and so especially through the rather puritanical phase of the Victorian era, then wishing someone a Merry Christmas might be considered a little bit infra-dig and a little bit naughty, so that's when happiness took over as gaining popularity. It became actually more popular to wish a Merry Christmas in America at that stage, but it fell out of fashion with royalty. Here, on the British shores, well, I encourage the usage. I'll continue to do so, even if it's thoroughly undignified and rather messy. Marvellous word, Merry Christmas. But what a splendid portrait it is of the King and Queen in Rome earlier in the year. Beautiful. Princess Anne's card as well has also come to public attention, along with Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence, who is 5 years Anne's junior, by the way, yeah? He's a bit of a toy boy, is our Vice Admiral. And the photograph there, riding in carriage, and they both look sexy there. Anne was actually deployed to do the King's bidding at the Palace of St. James. Yeah, I actually decided to rename St. James's Palace for my own business. I don't like saying St. James's Palace. It's inelegant to me, so from henceforth it should be known as the Palace of St. James. Isn't that wonderful? Do you see how I solved the problem? And the riddle is cured within a trice. From St. James's Palace to the Palace of St. James. Yeah, watch it catch on like wildfire. And Anne presided over the investitures of the season in regal style. And another lady with a very regal style is young Lady Lou, who is 17th in line to the throne, by the way. 17th in line to the throne. It sounds like me queuing up for a porter cabin at Glastonbury Festival. Yeah, she was captured on a train with commoners. This train was going from London to Bristol, and she had to sit on the floor cross-legged. Well, I say she had to, she was glad to. She doesn't mind mixing with the hoi polloi. She couldn't get a seat at Paddington, and we know that feeling, don't we, my dear? It is such a pain when you have to stand there and give up your seat for the elderly, or for those who are less able to stand, which I always do, and I always do it with a smile and very enthusiastically, but inside I'm dying, thinking, oh God, I've got to stand here, tottering about for a couple of hours, getting all discombobulated. Well, there she was, cross-legged and looking very studious, getting on with her essay or whatever it was on the computer. Each to their own, each to their own. If it was me, I would be summoning a driver or chartering a private jet to get me about, but then I'm old school, and that's the way that I think royalty should be. Damn the consequences, damn the cost. Do you understand? That's royalty for you. I believe in gloves. I believe in keeping more than an arm's length from my public. No hugs, thank you very much. And I'm a very huggy person, but you don't go clawing and grabbing at me in the streets. I would not be a friend, I would not be a celebrity, I would be a royal. And there's no doubt that Lady Lou has a very royal air about her. She seems determined not to be embracing it, especially when she's crouching in train carriages. But if that's what people enjoy and that's what people want, so be it. Fabulous news, isn't it, my dears, to hear that the King's cancer treatment is being reduced. What joyous news. The treatment schedule has been cut back, and he's going to be filling his diary with full 5-day weeks from now on, 5 days of work for the first time in 22 months. Although, to be honest with you, I think the treatment's only really cut out about 5 hours off of his weekly schedule in total, and we all know, the Queen has told us, that he is continuing to be workaholic. She can't drag him away from his work and his letters. It's incessant each week. But this means that he will be likely to travel a lot more than he has done in recent months. He is predicted to travel to the States in the spring for your 250th birthday or anniversary. I'm not quite sure what you're going to call it, but 250 years. And then later on in the year, in the autumn, it's expected that he will travel to Antigua and Barbuda for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And his treatment is going to be far less frequent, with longer gaps between sessions. This message came in collaboration with the Stand Up to Cancer campaign, promoting early detection, and there's a checker service online for screening which has become very popular since the King mentioned it, and hundreds of thousands have been expressing their interest, registering their interest to make sure that they are being checked, getting early detection, fighting through the embarrassments and the fears that come with all of this kind of thing, and getting some education about it all. So it's fabulous. It's going to save lives. It's also been revealed that the King made a secret visit to the Royal Trinity Hospice back on the 5th of December to award a damehood to Dame Sarah Anderson before she died 2 days later. It's very poignant, very moving. Dame Sarah founded a charity called The Listening Place, which has been involved in suicide prevention. And Dame Penny Mordaunt was also honoured, who you might remember as the scene stealer from the coronation, where she wielded that enormous sword. She looked splendid in that purple confection, I thought. It was pure Quality Street. And as part of the King's birthday honours, Claudia Winkleman was celebrated, a very famous presenter here in the kingdom, very successful, and she also happens to be the sister of the daughter-in-law of my darling, iconic Princess Michael of Kent, and of course the Duke of Kent. Sophie is the girl who is now Lady Frederick Windsor, and who used to be plain old Sophie Winkleman. Claudia got an MBE for services to broadcasting, and also to the colour orange, one would presume, because she is the colour of an Oompa Loompa, but by design actually. She looks that way on purpose because she found that it worked for her brand. She used to have a far more natural look when she was younger, but she created this iconic look which she adores wearing as a sort of armour. I've heard her speak about it with makeup artists. Orange, caked on makeup, very heavy eyeliner peeking out from under that chopped fringe. She understands the power of the brand, even if she looks faintly ridiculous. Now, we will end on a serious note today, I'm afraid, because the King in the last few hours released a message in relation to a horrific incident that happened earlier today at Bondi Beach in Australia. My wife and I are appalled and saddened by the most dreadful anti-Semitic terrorist attack on Jewish people attending the Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach. Our hearts go out to everyone who has been affected so dreadfully, including the police officers who were injured while protecting members of their community. We commend the police, emergency services and members of the public whose heroic actions no doubt prevented even greater horror and tragedy. In times of hurt, Australians always rally together in unity and resolve. I know that the spirit of community and love that shines so brightly in Australia, and the light at the heart of the Hanukkah festival, will always triumph over the darkness of such evil. So thank you, Basketeers, for your company, but special thoughts today for our Jewish Basketeers and friends who have had to endure so much nastiness, to put it very mildly, over the last couple of years. I know so many of us will be keeping you in our thoughts, perhaps lighting a candle, saying a prayer for you and your loved ones at this time of year. I look forward to seeing you next time. Ta-ra and toodle pip.